Buddhassa Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Buddhang saranang gacchami Dhammang saranang gacchami Sanghang saranang gacchami Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. Welcome, friends, to this Wednesday evening Dhamma talk, discussion, and meditation practice. So I hope everyone got the email I sent out on Tuesday, giving the title or the topic for tonight's talk. So this topic is on duality, and it's one of our, the people who attend our programs had, sent in a question about duality. And so I thought I would use that as a topic to start our discussion. Now, duality, as most people know, basically it means seeing things in twos, or that everything has an opposite, like black and white are dualities, and tall and short. And everything that we can, think about basically has a complementary opposite. But particularly these three main dualities that I want to talk about this evening refer to the three primary dualities in which our mind is caught in and keeps our mind caught in the samsaric process. The samsaric process is basically the process of the mind going from moment to moment, grasping and clinging at the various sense objects, sensations coming through our body and mind, and triggering all of its thoughts and actions, and creating the karma that keeps which is like the fuel for the mental process continuing in its accumulation of karma and the experience of suffering and happiness. So I've talked about this subject many times, and the first duality basically is that of the past and the future, because our whole mind operates off of the past and the future. And there couldn't be a past unless there's a future. And the second duality is that of pleasure and pain. And pleasure and pain are directly related to the past and the future. And the third primary duality is self and others. And the notion of ourself, the feeling of ourself and others is also tied up with ideas or thoughts, desires, aversions connected with the past and the future. Now, I want to go back to the analogy that I often give with, the baby in the womb. The mind of the baby in the womb is basically, just primarily in the present moment, experiencing the evolution of its body from a one-cell organism to a multi-billion or trillion cell organism. It was totally connected with the body, and for the most part in the present moment with all those sensations, developing. But when it's born, its attention gets focused outwardly, and it loses that connection to the present moment. And then everything it experiences from that point on is seen as something pleasurable that it wants, or something that's associated with discomfort or pain that it doesn't want. And I give the analogy of the sweet grandmother coming to give the baby its first chocolate, and so it tastes the little chocolate and gets that big grin on its face, because it's giving a pleasurable feeling. And then the grandmother keeps coming over every time she comes. She or he, brings some chocolate, and the baby starts now hoping that that face will come again in the future, because it's wanting that pleasurable feeling. And then the same with painful feelings that the baby experiences. Anything that causes the baby discomfort, then the baby has aversion to that, or starts hoping that that person or thing or object doesn't come again in the future. So it's remembering these experiences from the past and then projecting it into the future. And so everything that we experience, basically, as we've grown up from being a baby, the mind is divided into things that it thinks it wants in the future, thinks it's going to bring it pleasurable feeling, and having aversion or fear about things that it believes it's going to bring it a painful feeling. And virtually every thing that we do in life is oriented in that direction. And that's why desire and craving develop, because it's to get away from a painful feeling, like even the painful feeling of being lonely. And the mind seeks out persons or situations that are going to fill that vacuum of being lonely, whether it's obsession with video games or obsession with so many various vices or drugs, or connecting with unsavory people that then can get into a lot of trouble with, just to have this to fill that painful feeling of being lonely, or any other type of kind of feeling. So all of desires are basically a way to keep perpetuating or continuing the pleasurable, to getting pleasurable feeling, and scheming and avoiding how we can get away from the painful feeling. And every time you identify something that you want, or a pleasurable feeling, a desire, at the same time you're strengthening the idea of painful feeling. And every time you try to get away from a painful feeling, you are strengthening the desire to get more pleasurable feeling. And this is kind of a vicious loop that is developed in the mind. And basically it's based on that, again, the past and the future, getting pleasurable feeling in the future and keeping away from painful feeling to come again in the future. And that third duality is self and others, because it all revolves around ourself. And even our sense of self is in direct proportion to the past and the future. Anything that we can remember of ourself, we identify it as something from the past. You were born on a certain date. We write our birth date, right? I was born on this date, and then you have your family, and then you have your family history, and you have all the photographs that you took up. And this keeps reinforcing the sense of I and me in the mind, because again, these are concepts within the mind. This is how the mind operates. And then others too, remembering others in their relationship to oneself. So basically, all three of these dualities are tied up and intimately connected. And this is really an aspect of wisdom. And so in our practice of meditation, especially in the practice of mindfulness, in Vipassana meditation, these are things that we can directly observe, or there are topics for reflecting on. And you can observe how the mind is tightly caught in the web of karma. All of our actions, all of our karmic actions are tied up with, this being, in this dualities of between past and future, pleasure and pain, self and others. So that's why in the meditation practice, and all these things feed on each other. And it's important to understand that. And that's why the practice of learning how to live more in the present moment, especially in meditation practice, when we develop mindfulness and concentration, we're focusing on an object in the present moment, such as what we do with the breathing in the body, or in body movements, using the body as the constant connection to the present moment, because all the sensations in our body and the movements of our body basically are occurring in the present moment. So we use those as the anchor to focus on, that helps us to bring the mind to be more, connected or grounded and centered in the present moment. And therefore, the idea of pleasure and pain also, we can more clearly see when the mind is grounded in the present, or more grounded in the present with mindfulness. We can see then more clearly how the pleasurable feeling, how the mind is getting attracted to pleasurable feeling and having aversion to the painful feeling. And so that's how being grounded in the present moment can help you to observe the feelings. And the feelings are what trigger off our thoughts. And then we can clearly see how the ego, when you sort of deny yourself, or you're trying to restrain yourself from indulging in your various emotions and thoughts that come up, or restraining yourself from wanting to scratch the itch or to move the body because of pain, you can see that sense of self come up very strongly. So, being grounded in the present moment helps one to observe both, the strength and the power of our thoughts toward, and when we tend to want to react to pleasure and pain, and the sense of self and others, or especially the sense of self. And the more you develop, as you develop mindfulness and concentration and letting go of thoughts of the past, thoughts of the future, and they're more flowing in the flow of present moment experience, then also that helps to let go of pleasure and pain. How we see it, pleasure and pain are also basically just, created in the mind by our attention to the objects of the past and the future. And so as you're entering the flow of present moment awareness, then that's when the sense of self starts to fade away, and you see how, you see basically the sense of self as an illusion. So anyway, I've
given many talks about this before, but it's really the process of meditation until one has understood how the past, the future, pleasure and pain, self and others are basically created within our mind due to this conditioning, the past conditioning, and it was accumulated from the time we were a young child. And we can go on perpetuating and getting caught in that web our whole life. So the meditation practice, and even the whole practice of Dhamma, you could say, is a way of at least beginning to weaken that strong clinging attachment to this idea of the past and the future. We don't deny that it's there, but we can see how, those ideas, thinking they're real, keep the mind always re-strengthening these ideas of pleasure and pain, self and others, which keeps the mind in its, various types of thoughts. So I just wanted to sort of, explain that much about these dualities. If any of you have any thoughts about any of those, or any questions about any of those dualities or ways of contemplating, then I wanted to open it up to see if there's any, questions that you might have about those. Let me see, there's something in the chat. Okay, there's some questions in the chat. It says, pain and pleasure, do they exist in the object, or do they already exist in the mind, or are they newly learned from childhood in each life? Now, there is some realities to pain, but really pain and pleasure, they're just sensations, whether it's a physical sensation or it's a sound, a smell, or a taste. However you have learned that from childhood, a popular story is my story about how I hated avocados when I was a young child. And just hearing the sound of avocado sent a shiver up my spine. Then having to actually look at it and smell it, and then put it in my mouth and eat it, it produced a very strong negative reaction. But my mother and brother and father, they loved avocados. Now, if avocados or any object is inherently pleasure or painful, then every person would experience those objects in the same way. Now, having said that, like most people will never call a toothache a pleasurable experience, or some other strong physical pain. So, there are some universal things that most people consider painful or pleasant. But the more we dwell on them and attaching to that and reacting to it, let's say like an itch, okay? So everybody normally, they don't like an itch, or the feeling of a fly crawling on your head. So it usually produces an unpleasurable sensation, both the sensation of that feeling of it crawling on you, but then the idea that it's some insect that might have a disease or something else, that what creates the fear or the worry in the mind. So, but basically it's the more attention and clinging to the idea that something is pleasurable, painful, that recreates the mental resistance to it. And, you can experiment with this, especially with when you meditate. So there's lots of irritating sensations that come up on your body. Itchy feelings, scratchy sensations, those so many different kinds that usually you'd reach up to scratch something, or you'd move a little bit to get away from some irritation. But if you just stop and observe it, if you pause and relax and just observe it, and not mentally creating this idea that it's something you have to get rid of, the mind will get kind of used to it. And once you stop reacting to it, then the pain will seem to also dissipate, or because of impermanence, that sensation is going to change. And you don't need to rush to get rid of it because it'll change anyway. In the same way with irritating sounds, visible objects, and physical body feelings. That's why it's important. That's why the mindfulness is important. The mindfulness helps to put a space between the object that you might be reacting to, and gives you a few seconds to kind of contemplate it. Say, do I really need to rub this itch? Do I really need to react to something? And you can just listen to that sound, maybe that's irritating your mind or the body feeling, and watch it with detachment. And then 9 times out of 10, it's going to change, or it will change, and sometimes very quickly. And so every time you can delay the reaction and you can apply this contemplation, it will help to change the mind's mental attitude toward things. And that way you can not be so, reactive toward things. And you can help to stay more centered and grounded in the present moment without creating unnecessary karma. So that's probably the main takeaway, the main important takeaway in how you can apply these ideas about the pleasure and the pain, and how, there's some reality to it, but our mind is what magnifies it. The mind magnifies, that. Creates a mountain out of a molehill. Like going to the dentist. That's a good example. I used to go to the dentist and, get Novocaine and not like those sensations. But once I started meditating, I took it as a challenge, and I stopped getting Novocaine for filling cavities and drilling and other kind of things. And I use it as a meditation. I sat in the chair and I just, relaxed and, tried not to think about the dentist or anything else, and just was allowing these sensations to come and go. And gradually, I didn't necessarily enjoy them, but at least, to me, the feeling of Novocaine numbing your mouth was worse than 10 or 15 seconds of drilling, on your teeth. So anyway, there's different ways of looking at it. But the main takeaway is that we can help to, by our, applying some of these understandings about impermanence, and about how the mind creates most of its fears and anxieties. That's the way we actively apply the Dhamma, to these things that we experience. The same with fears and various phobias that we might have. That most of them have been acquired when we were young, and most people never question them, and they just be plagued by them, and they limit themselves. Anyway, so let's go on to the next. So anyway, again, the pain and the pleasure, do they exist in the object? Not necessarily. To some extent, they produce sensation. Every object produces a sensation, but our mind is what turns that sensation into something we love or hate or desire or have aversion to. And we can see that everybody has different experiences with it. and their opinions and ideas of what is beautiful, what is ugly, what is good and bad. People fight to the death over clinging to their opinions when ultimately they're just opinions. Okay. Isn't this why one should strive for the middle path, equanimity? By doing so, it seems that one can let go of the three dualities. Absolutely, that's equanimity, yes. Equanimity means that the mind that's sort of balanced in the middle and is not, reacting so much to, any of these dualities. It becomes equanimous. But that's due to the concentration. So as we learn when we, read about the suttas and so on, the restraint is one thing. So we can restrain ourselves, and even though we have a strong itch or a pain in the body, we can kind of forcibly, restrain ourselves from moving. But we might like to do it, but we can force ourselves not to react. But that doesn't necessarily change our mental attitudes toward it. But equanimity, only when you reach a deep level of concentration, when the mind stops paying attention to the dualities and it gets concentrated in the present moment on its object or just in that flow of the present moment, then, in the third and fourth jhanas is when you attain the real equanimity of the mind. So, but equanimity, so it helps. That's why when you attain concentration, the hindrances subside, and that's when it's more easy to endure sort of pains and other things, or pains seem to cease. It's because the mind has stopped reacting to them as being something painful. This type of the connection with the past and the future, the ideas of pleasure and pain, which are created in the mind, they get subsided as you attain concentration. And so that is what helps to the natural equanimity of present moment awareness to arise. And that's what the middle path is. The middle path is the mind resting in the middle between those dualities. That's why it's called the middle path, the mind in the middle between past and future. That means the present moment. In the middle between pleasure and pain, that means equanimity. And in the middle between self and others, which is delusion. So the mind is, reaches that state of non-delusion as well. So, the mindfulness in the middle path, that's why the whole Eightfold Path is called the middle path, keeping the mind in the middle between those extremes. That's the Buddha's whole teaching. The first sutta, Buddha's first sermon was about, the middle path, avoiding the extremes of pleasure and pain. Okay, this next question. As living organisms, aren't these feelings, pain, pleasure, necessary for survival as a species? That is true. That is what, basically all of evolution has been based on that. The pain of getting sick and old or dying, evolution, when the bigger creatures ate the small ones and feeding off of each other, and the fear of, death. So people, evolution created ways for various species to, better defend themselves and things like that. So, and also, like fear, yes, they are, but people overreact to them, or they because of the sense of self, they overindulge in it to where it causes them lot of other problems, create a lot of karma. That means like breaking the precepts. Get what you want, to get your pleasurable feeling. People go out and rape, pillage, and plunder, or kill, steal. And the same with to get away from unpleasant things. People are doing the same things. It's because they're overreacting. Now, sometimes some of those situations may be justified, but probably 90% of them are not justified. And it's just the mind is created, and that's what's important to understand. So yes, we don't want to particularly put ourselves into dangerous situations. So, that's why, the Buddha had, advices about, avoiding dangerous places and not going to places where, you subject yourself to maybe, those kinds of painful situations. Or other substances, but people consume substances that then cause them a lot of pain and grief, whether it's the substances that make their mind, lose its self-control and then create all kinds of problems, or out of greed, eating things that then causes us pain. So anyway, it's mainly, this understanding of the Dhamma basically is to help to reduce suffering in our life. And that's the main point. The main takeaway is how we can use these teachings to help keep our mind more balanced and to feed on the natural happiness or equanimity of the mind that's more grounded in the present moment and not so much craving the future, having fear of the future, or going to the past. And to, once you tune in and get more keyed in to the present moment awareness, which is always there underneath our, active mind, when you know how to, especially, using mindfulness of the body, which is the most powerful method for that. That's the way you're able to gradually, understand that whole process and to use that connection to the present moment, not needing things always to, what can I do? You get bored, you want to go out and do something. Instead of getting bored, meditate, rest in the present moment. Feed off that happiness of just being in the present moment. With your breath going in and out, or your heartbeat. Learn how to enjoy the nature without having to always get these objects to create happiness. Instead, just tune into the natural happiness that's already within our nervous system, which is the present moment awareness. So when do feelings become a hindrance rather than a help? Isn't the clinging to these feelings the real hindrance? Yes, the clinging to the feelings. As I mentioned, feelings are okay, but to have a right understanding of what feelings are, how they arise, and how you become addicted to them, either with desire or aversion, and how they cause you to do things that you regret later or that bring more suffering. So it's all about right understanding. That's why right understanding comes first in the Noble Eightfold Path. And that's the part of the right understanding is understanding the mind and how the mind has got into this mess since it became a baby. From no one telling us about the Dhamma, we've allowed our minds to get caught up in the inner tangle and the outer tangle. There's that question to the Buddha, the inner tangle and the outer tangle. This world is entangled in a tangle. So somebody came to the Buddha and asked him that. How do we disentangle from this tangle? And that's when the Buddha said, one standing on the foundation of skillful conduct, that means observing the precepts and so on, and then developing the powers of mindfulness and concentration and wisdom, they succeed in disentangling the tangle. And the tangle is the tangle of these feelings in the objects of the world, in the tangle of the past, future, pleasure and pain, and self and others. So, okay, friends, I think does anybody have any questions they want to ask by raising a yellow hand? Okay, so it gives us enough to think about in our meditation that we'll be doing shortly. So let's go ahead and take a short break, come back, do a few stretches, get centered in the present moment of the body, hopefully, and then use that as a way of cultivating equanimity and awareness. Okay, so we'll meet back in a few minutes. So start to stand straight. Keep the chin lifted up, level with the floor. Just gently close your eyes. Sort of feel the outline of the standing body. If you can't feel that, feel your feet pressing the floor. Feel your arms and hands hanging at the side. Feel your clothing touching the skin. Feel the head balanced on top. And begin some deep, slow breathing. Take 2 or 3 seconds to expand the abdomen, rib cage, and upper chest, holding the air in the lungs. 2 seconds, slowly breathing out. Cultivating this mindfulness of the present moment. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Turn that clock around. Now we're going to combine this better set. Combine this breathing with these movements. On the next in-breath, arms over the head, interlock the fingers, turn the palms up, straighten the arms, stretch upwards, stretch the head back. On the out-breath, release the fingers, arms back to the sides. Feel sensations in the body. Breath up. Stretch upwards, bend back a little bit. Feel the sensation. Out breath, arms back to the side.
Once more in. Out. Close the eyes. For the outline of the body, present moment awareness, increased life force sensation. Remember standing. Letting go of your thoughts. Thoughts come and go in the back of the mind. The awareness anchored, body sensation. In the next in-breath, lift up on the toes while raising the arms over the head in this way, facing the hands toward each other, stretch up. Out breath. In. Stretch. Out. In. Close the eyes. Increased body sensations, touching the outer skin, sensations under the skin, present moment, body centered awareness, those pleasant tingling life force vibrations. Especially in your hands and fingers. Next we'll do side bending. On the in-breath, raise both arms up. Keep your fingers and arms straight, close to the head. The out-breath, bend over the right side as far as you comfortably can. Keep the arms parallel to each other. In-breath, up. And the other side, out-breath. In-breath, up. To the right, out-breath. In. Once more to each side. Out-breath. The out breath, lower the arms. Close the eyes. Feel the increased sensation. Present moment, body centered awareness. Standing, standing. Next we'll do squatting or knee bending. For the next in-breath, you lift up on the toes, raise the arms up front for balance. The out-breath, bend the knees, lower the body down to the squatting position if you can. And take a deep breath, feel the muscles in the legs pushing the body up. Out. Out. The out breath, relax. Feel the increased heartbeat. Be aware of any thoughts of the past and the future that might come up in the mind. Desire to do something later this evening, tomorrow. Just remember standing, standing. Just enjoy the present moment. This body, you have to live in this body for 50, 60, 70 or more years. Might as well learn how to enjoy it. Enjoy the life force bubbling through your arteries and nervous system. Okay, now spread your legs apart about 3 feet. Hold the arms out, little twisting from right to left. Breathe in. The out breath, twist to the right. Keep the eyes focused on the hand going back. In breath, back to the front. Let your feet turn with the body, then twist to the other side, the out breath. Keep alternating sides with the breathing. Once more to each side. Back to the front. Relax. Keep feeling the body. Don't allow it to rush out. Feel each foot pressing the floor. Clothing touching the skin. Well, just present moment sensation. Now, bring the hands together at the chest. Breathe in, hands over the head. Out breath, hands to the chest, bend the knees, lower down. Stretch in the hips and knees. In breath. Out. Out breath. Close the eyes and feel that outline, silhouette of the body in the mind's eye. All those activated life force vibration. Now bring the feet back closer together. And stand straight. A couple of head and neck exercises. Starting with the head turning. On the in-breath, turn your head to the right as far as you comfortably can. And look over your right shoulder. Turn your eyes further to the right. The out breath. Head all the way back to the left. Look over the left shoulder. In breath right. Out breath. In. The in-breath, let the head stop in the middle, feeling the body, let the mind wander, the past and the future. One more bit of neck exercise. With the in-breath, raise the chin upwards. And on an out-breath, stretch the head further back to look up at the ceiling. In-breath, lift the head up. Jump the chin out. On the out-breath, press the chin to touch the top of the chest. Stretch the neck, work up. In-breath, lift the chin up. Out-breath, stretch the head back. In-breath, check the chin out, out-breath. Once more, in. Out. In. Chin out. Chin up level on an in-breath. Relax on the out-breath. Feeling the whole body. Here and now. Present moment awareness centered in the body. We're going to do one last exercise, backward and forward bending. Just be careful with the backward and forward bending, not to get back too far the first time. Turn the palms so the palms face outward and the edges of your hands touching. On an in-breath, raise the hands up, level with your eyes, and begin spreading the arms apart. As you bend back on the out-breath, arms out to a horizontal position to the side. In-breath, carefully lift up, keeping the arms outside. On the out-breath, lower the arms and hands down towards the floor. And keep your legs straight. Let the little bones in the lower spine stretch out. Begin standing up. Turn the palms outward. In-breath, raise the hands up. Out-breath, bend back, spread the arms out. In-breath. Out-breath, downward stretch. Once more. In. Out. In. Out. Hold the downward stretch a little longer. Let the little bones in the lower spine stretch out. Begin standing up. On the in-breath, bring hands together at the chest. Out-breath, hands back to the sides. Feel the whole body. Close the eyes or hold that outline, silhouette. The standing body in the mind's eye. The eye of present moment awareness. Feel or imagine all those activated life force vibrations, healing energy, permeating, saturating all cells of the body, allowing the awareness to rest in the middle. The middle path of present moment awareness. Okay, so now let's mindfully come back to our seats, get ready for the sitting awareness. Just get comfortable in the sitting posture. Just try to sit straight. Feel your head balanced on top of the neck. Keep the chin lifted up, level with the floor. Just gently close the eyes. Just feel your eyes in the socket.
Feel the skin stretched over the face. Feel your lips touching together. Start to feel the whole head, all those different sensations in the head and face. Just mentally remember the sitting. Let the awareness kind of move down the body, feeling the shoulders, relaxing the shoulders. Feel the clothing touching the skin of the shoulders and arms and chest. Feel your hands and fingers where they touch the body. Feel the way the knees are bent and the legs tucked underneath. Feel the buttocks pressing the seat. Just remember sitting, sitting. And again, resting your attention sort of behind the eyes. Try to feel the outline of the sitting body, all those different body parts, head, arms, feet, clothing touching the skin as though you are looking into a mirror. Just observing the sitting body, the sensations on the sitting body. Then begin some deep, slow breathing like we did in the yoga session. Take 2 or 3 seconds to feel the expanding of the abdomen, rib cage, and upper chest, holding the air in the lungs. 2 or 3 seconds to feel that subtle energy of the present moment. On the out breath, try to feel the last bit of air going out of the lung. Just continue that several more times, developing this mindfulness of breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Now we're going to count our breaths from 1 to 10. Try to develop a more continuous concentration on the breathing, I'll do the counting for you. Try to follow that with your breathing, concentration. With the next expanding in breath, mentally count to 1. Hold the air in 1 or 2 seconds. With the contracting out breath, also count to 1. Feeling the last bit of air go out. Next in breath, 2. Out breath, 2. In 3. Out 3. In 4. Out 4. In 5. Out 5. In 6. Out 6. In 7. Out 7. In 8. Out 8. In 9. Out 9. In 10. Out 10. Now discontinue the counting. Let your breathing return to its uncontrolled or shorter, irregular rhythm. But continue to feel it. Keep the attention focused in the center of the body. Feel the residual expanding and contracting sensation. Make that the primary focus of the present moment, body-centered awareness, concentrated awareness. It's knowing when the breath is coming in and knowing when the breath is going out. You know it by feeling it, feeling the raw sensation. Especially try to feel the sensations where the clothing rubs against the skin of your stomach, rib cage, your chest. You help keep the mind alert, awake. Try to feel like a scientist looking down through a microscope, observing an experiment of breathing. How this breathing keeps this body alive. Try to notice the 4 phases of each breath cycle. The expanding in-breath and the brief pause. The contracting out-breath and the brief pause. Just over and over and over again. To help stay focused, remembering, and use these brief mental reminders of in, sitting, out, sitting. Those brief pauses between the breaths, feeling the outline of the sitting body. This breathing is going on within the larger sitting body. In sitting, out, sitting, breath by breath, moment by moment. This breathing body is the natural connection to the present moment. Same awareness you had in the womb before coming out. If you still have lots of thoughts, you can try counting the breaths from 1 to 10 again by yourself. See if you have your own concentration.
If you're able to make it from 1 to 10 without the mind getting lost, you just continue the counting, just come back to the silent observation, the breathing process, tuning into the subtler details, sensation, the in-breathing, the brief pause, the out-breathing, and the brief pause. Try to feel that breathing within the larger sitting body. Try to hold the outline of the sitting body in the mind's eye. The breathing process going on in the center. In the middle. Gradually opening up to feel other sensations coming and going in and around the breathing process. Within the breathing body, prickly sensations, clothing touching the skin, aches or pains, itches. All occurring in the present moment awareness. Just being aware of the stream of thoughts moving through the back of the mind. Keeping the sensations of the breathing body in the front of the awareness. Just to anchor to the present moment. If you notice any thoughts about the future or the past, recognize that in the mind. Future, future, past, past. Take a deep, slow breath back into the present moment. In sitting, out, out, sitting. Or thoughts of the past and the future come up, see if they're connected with desire for pleasant feeling or aversion to painful feeling.
Be aware when any thoughts of self, I, or me, or mind come up. See how that's connected with the past or future.
From time to time, take a few deep, slow breaths. Stay awake, alert in the body-mind process. Keeping the mind in the middle path. Observing the flow of impermanence. Body sensation, sound, thoughts. Ideas of the past or future, pleasure or pain, self and other. All conditioned thoughts arising, passing away from moment to moment. The only thing that's truly real or present is sensations of this breathing body. Or other vibrations, sound. when thoughts of the future arise from that sound vibration, Sabbe sankhara anicchati yada panyaya pasati atanibindati dukhi Esamango visuddhiya dukkha patacani dukkha bhaya patacani bhaya sukha patacani sukha Ontu sabbe pipanino. All conditioned things, the five aggregates of this body, mind, and world are impermanent. They arise only to briefly last, then vanish. When one sees this with the eye of wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with suffering. This is the path to freedom. And may the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. In this way may all beings live, more centered and grounded in the present moment. And thus spoke the Buddha. Now mindfully place your hands at the edge of the knees. Take one more deep breath. On the in-breath, stretch the head back. Pull the hands on the knees to arch your spine backwards. Feel the sensation. Lift the head up on an in-breath. On the out-breath, press the chin to the top of the chest. Stretch the neck vertebrae. Lift the chin up level on an in-breath. Relax on the out-breath. Put a smile on your face. Okay, friends, so this brings our evening of Dhamma discussion and meditation to an end. But again, as I always say, mindfulness should never end. It means it's our natural vibration of our consciousness. It's the present moment awareness. We just know how to reclaim it or get back in touch with it. It's always there. Beneath all of our thoughts, rushing to the future, worrying about the past. Just take a deep, slow breath, do an M&M, come back to the present moment, and everything becomes clear. So, again, I'll be leaving tomorrow, actually, another trip to California. I won't be having the program next week, I think, again, for the next 2 weeks. We won't be having this Wednesday night program. I think it's 2 weeks. Anyway, I'll send out the next newsletter would be after I get back. Okay, so in the meantime, be well, be safe, be mindful, be wise. Practice your M&Ms. If you haven't gotten one of those mindfulness bell apps that you can set to ring a bell or give a reminder every hour to stop and pause, it'll be a great practice. Okay?
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you,
Good luck on your
Bhante.
trip.
You, Bhante. Have a good trip.
Have a beautiful trip. Thank you, everyone. Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Thank
everyone.
you, Bhante.
Baba Devata.
Bhante.
Have a very nice flight to California. Thank you again, everyone. Everyone have a good night.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night.